Greetings YouTube and welcome to the Blue Corner and to a Yu-Gi-Oh! Discussion video. It's been quite some time since I've talked about this kind of stuff, but um, to be perfectly honest, anytime I've actually sat down in front of a camera to talk Yu-Gi-Oh! I always start going into like a 5 minute long spiel about the things I'm not fond of in the current state of the game, blah 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 blah. And as a result I end up like restarting the video again and again and again and again, and that's why my Red Eyes deck profile I uploaded back in December was actually my sixth take because I didn't want to bog it down with a long-winded rant from a bitter person that just finds himself becoming more and more disenfranchised with the game. But these new rule changes actually help towards dealing with the issues that I've been having with the game. So, hey, that's something. So, the reason why is we happen to have our new summon mechanic called Link Summons, changes to the dueling field because of them, and just changes to the rules in general. So, yeah, this is quite a bit to take in. A lot of people have been overwhelmed by the information. I've had some time to process it and also give my own thoughts on all of this, so we're gonna just cover that in this video. So this is just my take on Link Summons and the changes to the game we have moving forward, because TLDR, Konami has made an attempt to actually scale back power creep as opposed to what we thought the alternative was going to be, which was make an already fast game become gotta go even faster. Because how much faster can you go from being gotta go fast, kill all the animals, blah blah blah. So anyway, what we have here is the example of a Link monster. This is the boss of the new starter deck. This is called Decode Talker, and it shows you what a Link monster looks like. So they are dark blue, possibly navy. I'm just gonna call these things navy blue because I don't want to say blue cards because we refer to ritual monsters as blue cards, and I don't want to just say blue cards and dark blue cards. Anyway, so here's the image, and you notice immediately how this thing has no level or rank, so it's unaffected by things that require levels such as ritual summoning or synchro summoning or Ixie summoning, and things that would try and harm you based on that, such as Gravity Bind, that's one of them, and they also have no defense stat. Instead, you see this link stat in where you would find the defense, and that's because these guys can't switch the defense. So cards like Book of Moon, Quaking Mirror Force, they can't do anything to this thing because it is physically impossible to turn to the defense. So get frigged certain stall decks because now you can't hide behind your gravity blinds, although why would you in 2017, and Quaking Mirror Force. Oh, that's cute. Anyway, so these arrows that you see here come into play, especially with how the game is going to be moving forward. We'll get to that in a bit as we're going to look over his stats here. So this is Decode Talker. He is a dark Cybers type Link effect monster. So we're getting a new monster type called Cybers, which I imagine is going to get a change over here in English. There's no way they're going to have it be something like that. It'll be, I don't know, digital? I don't know, but anyway, so he is a Link 3. We already saw that with this thing down here. And I'm also thinking that the Link number is going to have an effect on how many arrows present on the card. So we have 3 arrows, which are 3 links, play 3. And his materials are 2 or more effect monster. And he has 2 effects. But let's talk about how we summon these things, because it goes down here. So there are ways to summon these things, and they are send materials to the grave equal to the link of that monster, so 3. So to summon this guy, we have to send 3 monsters to the graveyard, and this one specifically says effect monsters. Or you can instead decrease the number of materials required by using other link monsters you can control as link materials. As an example, Decode Talker says that you need 3 effect monsters, but you can instead use a link 2 effect monster and a single effect monster to instead summon this guy with only 2 cards as opposed to 3. Okay, this means that in the future we're probably going to have link monsters of even higher numbers that'll be used to make summoning even bigger link monsters a lot easier. And I'm going to go on a limb and say that we are never going to have link monsters higher than link 8. because of just the number of arrows we have. We have our 4 corners and our 4 sides. That's 8. So we'll never have anything higher than the link of 8. And that means I think like link 4 monsters might be like the link 4 will probably be the it's like, man, I'm finding it difficult to talk here. Granted, we'll never be able to send 8 monsters from the board to the graveyard. That's just not going to happen. So instead, we'll have to send like a link 4 and 4 other monsters, or a link 4 and a link 2. Like I think link 8 is going to be equivalent of level 12, and I think link 4 is going to be the equivalent of rank 4 or level 8 synchro summoning. And how no, I don't know if that's going to be the case. Maybe link 3 will be the rank 4 or level 8, level 7. We'll see, but that's how the mechanic works. So you can summon this guy by sending 3 monsters to the graveyard, or you can send a link 2 and any effect monster to the graveyard to summon this thing. Okay. We talk about how they have no defense. And let's see, you can link summon from your extra deck by sending the same number of monsters that meet the material requirements from the card's effect box, with soul levels equal to the link number from the field to the graveyard. Decrease materials by using link monsters. Link monsters are treated as the same number of materials as its link number. However, to use them, you must match the requirements written on the card. So this guy will be treated as 3 materials towards your next link summon. So if you choose to decide to summon a link 5, you can use this guy and 2 monsters, or this guy and a link 2. Okay, so that's link summoning. We now know the gists of how these things work, and this guy also has 2 effects. The first one is he gains 5 attack for each monster linked to it. Now, if I'm correct, cards that are linked to a link monster are basically the monsters that are adjacent to these arrows. So he has 3 arrows, meaning if there's a monster adjacent to him in front of him, and to his bottom left and bottom right, then he's going to get 1500 attack total. And he also has the effect of, when your opponent's card effect that targets a card you control is activated, you contribute one of your monsters that's linked to this card, negate and destroy the card. So you can't pop anything in front of him, this guy, which would be your opponent's monster, but you can tribute one of your 2 monsters on the side, which in many cases is going to be an extra deck monster because of the new rule changes, which we're going to cover right now. So with the advent of this new mechanic, the field itself has changed, which I have a photo of right here, as we have our 5 monster card zones, our field card zone, our extra deck, our graveyard, and then like our banish zone. But you've noticed a couple other things. First off, we have pendulum scales in the back row. That's because Konami has decided to get rid of the 2 zones we had for pendulums to begin with, and now we have them in our back row. And they're saying that you can use your leftmost and rightmost spell and trap card zones as spell and trap cards, but if you want to use your pendulum scales, you have to place them in those 2 spots. This in turn is basically a nerf to pendulums in general, because now if you play your scales back there, you have less room to play your back row. This honestly should have been how it was in the first place, as we would have had much less of a bad time against decks such as Qliphort and Magispectors, because in order for them to have their scales in the pendulum summon, they won't be able to set 5 back row and pass, which I think would make dealing with them just easier. Like, you only have room for 3 cards among your hand of multiple skill drains and an emptiness. It also makes Twin Twister in general just stronger against them. Magispectors will be interesting to see play out because they like to search out so much back row, but if they use the one guy to set something, and then the one guy to search another, they can only search 1 more back row and that's it. So they won't be able to hide behind Magispector Trap, Strike, Barrier, Emptiness. And I think that'll change the dynamic of them. Now, other pendulum decks such as Magicians, I don't think they'll be too effective. They only played maybe 3 to 5 pieces of back row, 2 at a time at most, probably D-Barrier and Pendulum Graph, I believe is what it's called. I don't know a whole lot about the upcoming Magicians. I just know they're like some pretty silly cards coming in the structure deck. But so that's the thing. I like that. The other big one is that we now have a monster zone in front of our main monster zones, specifically for extra deck monsters. Because as of this new stuff coming out, extra deck monsters cannot be summoned to the 5 monster card zones that we've been using ever since this game began. So if you were to summon a Stardust Dragon, it's going to be going into one of these 2 zones that are in front of you, because at the beginning of the game we have these 2 extra monster zones, and you claim one of them. But the first person to summon an extra deck monster claims one of them, and immediately after that, the other player claims the other one. Now, the reason why you get to choose is that this plays into how link monsters work. As we notice here, this guy has these arrows here, and where he is positioned affects what you're able to do, because once you happen to have a link monster in the extra deck zone, the monster zones adjacent to these arrows are now treated as zones in which you can summon additional extra deck monsters to. So because we have Decoder here, this guy is able to summon Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon to his bottom left, and he could summon, I don't know, Ignister to his bottom right. Likewise, because he's here, his opponent is able to summon Mithrilium to in front of him. And this is a very, very, very big change to what we know, because if you don't summon a link monster there, you're basically locked of what you can do from your extra deck, because you can only put one monster there. That's it. Like, if you summon again a Mithrilium there, unless that Mithrilium goes away, that's it. You can't summon anything else, unless, granted, they haven't like fully told us everything about this. Like, we don't know if you can use the monster in the extra deck zone as fusion material, synchro material, ritual material, what have you. Like, but I'm assuming you can, because I believe, oh no, they haven't answered that question, but a lot of people believe that you can in fact kaiju monster that's here, and thus clear that up. But what this basically says is that Konami realizes that extra deck spam based decks such as synchro spam, Ixie spam, fusion spam, they realize just how disgusting these things are in the game, and they're basically saying, okay, we're going to make it so that you can't spam the board with synchros, Ixies, and fusions. If you want to spam the board, you need to be able to unlock more of your extra deck by playing these link monsters. And you know what? I'm fine with that, because the way that the game has been accelerating in terms of power creep, in that we've gotten to the point where games pretty much get decided in the first couple turns by whoever wins the die roll and is able to make a board of all these multiple extra deck summon monsters. And if you can't break, you might as well pack it up, because you are not winning. Like, unless you happen to have a board wipe, which counts as breaking, but like, I remember watching Pepe in action and going, damn, if I can't break that board, he's going to fucking kill me. Likewise, whenever I play Yang Zing, if they can't break my board because I resolved Jiao-Tu, I probably get to kill them on the following turn, because I was able to negate half their hand, and then I have the ability to just spin away the other cards or negate more of their stuff. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Had gotten to such a level of speed that I just simply got fed up with it, and I've just been not playing, because it had gotten to the point where if you aren't playing super hard dick butt stun, which I don't like, then you're basically playing like Xyz Infernity, where if they don't have a max C, you're just gonna go off hard like a motherfucker and basically hope that it gets you there, because that's like, it really felt like that was all you could play if you weren't playing stun. It was just like that, and I don't like playing that kind of deck, and I don't like playing like Bujin stun, so I just chose to not play at all. And as a result, I think I've only gone to like 5 locals since the regionals in May, because it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And the thing is, while people are super pissed at these changes that Konami is doing because of all this, I think to myself, if they didn't do this, what would they have done instead? They would have just tried to find a way to power creep what we've already been dealing with. Meaning they would have tried to make this game even faster. Yeah, so when faced with the choice of either a slower game or the game becoming even faster than it is now, I'm gonna go with the former, as it's gotten to the point where even I was starting to complain about the speed of the game, and I generally consider myself to be very open-minded when it comes to card games and their ever-changing pace. Like, when Pendulums came out, I was like, you know what? I'm okay with this. I mean, I put up with Exceeds, no complaints. I put up with Synchros, no complaints. I put up with Strides and Vanguard, no complaints either, but it was really getting bad as far as Yu-Gi-Oh's power creep goes. Like, it was to the point where Yu-Gi-Oh was being used as the standard bearer for bad power creep in card games. People from other card games would be like, man, this power creep is so bad. We're going to be like Yu-Gi-Oh within a year. How bad's the power creep out of this end? It feels like I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, I'd like to think that when it's gotten to that point, you've got issues. So kudos to Konami for actually doing the rarity thing, and that is actually scaling back power. Because it was either they do this or they just ban list the oblivion out of everything, which I don't think would have gone over well, or even more so, set rotations. But that's never going to happen because the creator of the card game doesn't want that to happen. So instead, they decided to just change how the extra deck works so that we have a much slower game, which I'm perfectly fine with. But again, I prefer the slower resource-based formats as opposed to the faster tempo ones. Now, it does suck that many deck strategies pretty much get killed because of this. You can't spam a whole bunch of synchros. You can't spam a bunch of exceeds. You can't spam fusions. Although, in this defense, if they didn't do this, then the sheer power creep of the other alternative would have made these decks unplayable anyway. Like, when Duelist Alliance came out, pretty much every deck from the format previous, so Hacked, Kyrgia, Sylvans, Mythic Rulers, they died. Like, Hack could not compete with Shaddolls or Teller Knights or BA, and that was the most powerful deck of that format. Even, like, in spite of, like, the Sanctum hits, like, the hands, they, like, Shaddolls didn't care about the hands. They laughed at them. So the Teller Knights didn't care about the hands, or Moral Attack. Like, it was like, whatever, like, we float through your shit. And, like, it would have happened the same here. So it's just a different way, but it's still the same end result. Everything from before this series pretty much becomes difficult to play in. It's just, instead of power creep, it's because the rules made it more difficult to play. And admittedly, it's also a rather genius way of Konami to make everyone buy new product, because you need to be able to use these link monsters in order to actually play your Fluffle deck or your Dragunity deck for such forth and such forth. But I don't know what else I can really say here that I can't think of that like honestly, I rather like these changes. I think people actually, the thing is, despite the fact that a lot of people were flipping out over this, this is honestly the kind of change that Yu-Gi-Oh really needed, and that at the end of the day, people are going to be more happy that happened than the people who are like, oh, I'm going to quit. This is the end of the game, blah 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 blah, and then they never do. These are the same people who said pendulums are going to fuck the game of Yu-Gi-Oh. Pendulums are too powerful. I'm quitting. I'm never coming back, and they still come back, and they still come on the reveal saying, man, fuck everything. I hate this. They're killing the game, and again, they don't go away. So, yeah, it's just same story, different tune, but same ending nonetheless. The people are going to complain. They're going to keep playing. They're going to keep complaining. And they're just going to keep coming back because no one truly quits Yu-Gi-Oh! Here I thought I was going to quit. I was starting to get rid of a lot of my stuff because I felt, you know what? I'm probably not really going to be playing a whole lot in the future. And then they just dropped this on me. It's like, well, I guess I'll come back in. So, as far as like future Yu-Gi-Oh content goes on this channel, I'm pretty much not playing very much for the foreseeable future. I'll participate in maybe 1 or 2 regionals before this new stuff drops. Either I'll judge if I can, or maybe I'll just show up and like play a Suicide Bomber deck because I don't really feel like going to the trouble of dropping the money for a Zodiac deck. I do like the Zephyra Grammaton coming out of the Maximum Crisis set and the True Dracos. Now, that's a deck that's positioned I think is going to be very interesting coming into this, because while Zodiac True Draco may not be that good, Pure Draco, on the other hand, might actually turn out to be quite powerful under this. as you really only need VFD, but like you still have your other Draco monsters. So who knows what comes out of that? And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So don't expect a whole lot of Yu-Gi-Oh content in the future. I will probably post another video once we get more information on this, especially if they actually reveal something like a new archetype that's dragon based or thunder based, or especially that. My good lord, can we please get a thunder archetype already, Konami? Like, I admittedly have kind of gotten spoiled by Vanguard's Narukami clan, but I would really like to see something better than Hunders. Please. Anyway, so that's all I got for now. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and welcome to the future of Yu-Gi-Oh, where we have the love child of Eureka 7 and Mega Man Star Force as our future anime, and I for one am looking very forward to seeing how this pans out. Yeah, it really is like the mix up between it, because it's got Eureka 7. I imagine it's gonna like animate like how like the fights go. The battles are gonna animate very much like how mech fights in Eureka 7 would, although probably not as well animated because Studio Bones is like god at animation. And I see a lot of like similar concepts to Mega Man Star Force in this. You've got your moody protagonist who's followed around by a digital monster, and upon entering the data world, he transforms into this digital self, and he navigates through like this virtual reality cyberspace like world. And I wouldn't be surprised if they actually do have duels inside computer systems. Again, this is starting to sound a lot like net battles. So yeah, Jack and Yusaku and execute. I'm gonna. If anything else, this gives me an excuse to bust out Battle Network and Star Force songs during any duel videos, and you might want to start practicing this with turning off automatic card placement on Deck Pro. Man, those guys who would run the 60 card decks and not play with the auto placement on, they were way ahead of the curve, because now we're going to be playing with 60 card Grasses Greener decks and not having auto placement on. Well played. Well played. Anyway, that's all for now. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, this is Bootstar899, Yakking out.